Welcome, everyone, and welcome to our session for an amazing panel which is lined up for you. Why is application security important for your business? An important announcement for all of our participants. For certification, you need to attend the complete webinar and qualify for the certificate of attendance. And participants should fill in the survey form, which will be sent to you after the webinar. Starting with our moderator for the day. Our moderator, Dragan Pleskonjic, is an experienced high-tech entrepreneur and executive with a strong background in information security, computer systems and network security, software and application security, software development methodologies and architectures. He also possesses proven leadership and talent for management and organization of successful teams. He has initiated and held leading position in several industry projects as well as in research and development projects. Has worked up at the top position at international companies with global coverage with experience as mergers, acquisitions, company integrations, and startups. With excellent theoretical and practical knowledge, he leads the research and development that is well connected and aligned with professional work and best practices in companies and organizations. Without any further delay, I hand over the session to you. Over to you, Dragan.
Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are connecting from. Welcome to our webinar and panel discussion. Thank you all for joining. Before we start, a couple of housekeeping things. Audience microphones are muted, and you can ask your questions by typing them in chat window. Our colleagues will handpick questions, and we will try to discuss them with our panelists. Now about today's panel. As you have seen, topic is why is application security important for your business. We have three esteemed panelists here, Paresh Rathod, Sundar Dandapani, and Patrick G. M. Verstik. I will moderate panel, and now I will give chance to our panelists to introduce themselves and tell a couple of more words about themselves. Paresh, can you please introduce yourself to audience?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dragan, and also welcoming our esteemed panelists, Patrick and Sundar. Along with them, hello to everyone there, wherever you are, as Dragan says. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today we are gonna having a wonderful topic in our hand. My name is Paresh Rathod. I'm basically a technocrat and working in European Cybersecurity Organization, as well as European Agency of Cybersecurity as an expert. We have also recently initiated since last year a research and innovation organization in UK. It's called ITEDA. So I'm also vice president and a founding member. Along the way, something is very special in my heart is an education and helping the young generation. So I'm also an educator, and especially on cybersecurity since many years. So I'm welcoming you again, and I'm handing over to my esteemed panelists, Patrick and others. Dragan, please.
Patrick, welcome, and can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Dragan. Yes, I can. Hi, Paresh. Hi, Sundar. Good to see you again. Very happy to be part of this panel with the both of you. It's great to be here. Thank you, Dragan. And thank you, ISO Council University, for making this possible. My name is Patrick Versteeg. I'm based of the Netherlands in Europe. I'm a self-employed entrepreneur, holding several CISO positions over the last couple of years, and currently I'm the CISO of Vitera worldwide. I have a background of about 20 years in cybersecurity, and I'm happy to say for a couple of years I'm a ISO Council University alumni as well. I think this topic, why is application security so important for your business, is a great topic to have this panel discussion on today, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you so much. Back to you, Dragan.
Thank you, Patrick. And now chance for Sundar to introduce himself to audience.
Thank you, Dragan, and welcome, Patrick and Paresh. My name is Sundar, and I lead cyber solutioning at Capgemini. I have over 27 years of experience with 16 years in cybersecurity. And I have a good experience in pre-sale solutioning as well as building cybersecurity practice and teams. I'm very happy to be part of this very important discussion and very pertinent discussion in today's context, why application security is very important. Welcome you all. Over to you, Dragan.
Thank you very much, Sundar. And now a couple of words about our panel today. So what we will talk about today. As you can see, probably application security is no longer an afterthought, but foremost. It's becoming very important as the last line of defense in computer systems. Application security is important because current applications are often available on various devices, networks, which are connected to the cloud, increasing vulnerabilities to threats and security breaches. There is growing pressure and incentive not only to ensure security at the network level, but also within the application themselves. One of the reasons for this is that hackers are preying on applications more with their attacks today than in the past. Application security testing can reveal weaknesses at the application level, helping to prevent these attacks. I would say I'm in this area for many years now, and I have seen a lot of companies that have developed these practices in significant mature level, but also I saw some companies that even don't think about this yet, which is strange to my opinion. Also, I recently read one research by market research companies, and they say that annual size of market, as you can see, will grow by more than 16% compound annual rate and will reach $15 billion by 2025. So that's interesting. And from today's panel, a key takeaways should be to lay out the foundation required by all application developers and also security teams and application security people, and to help software development organizations to produce secure applications, or in other words, applications with as less risk as possible. Now, let's try to go to some questions that I will ask my colleagues from panel to answer. So, first question would be, we have seen a lot of security and privacy breaches at past and present time. Some of them very costly, some led to really damaging reputation of companies that survived that breaches. Why is that? And what are main root causes of that? And what part of those security and privacy issues are caused by software and application vulnerabilities in regard to network security and other areas? So I would give chance to Paresh to discuss on this question as first.
Thank you. So there are many parts in this question. I will more focus on a root cause of this one. Because if we consider, let's say, a few years back, when the application becoming more prominent in internet and web, so the root cause is the application never been developed considering security. So that also applies to internet as well as any IT infrastructure. So we have actually used and developed this to having some kind of a tool available to us, but then later on it becoming very complex. So the root cause is as they say, security by design. So right now when we are training almost 500 young people in IT. And when we do survey with them, even not 10% are aware about the application security. They know how to develop mobile apps, they know how to develop web apps, but they don't know about the security. I think there is a root cause about on a structural level, or even in SDLC, we are not considering security as a big pillar over there. Besides this, we have a wonderful two practitioners, Sundar and Patrick, and they can add something more. Over to you, gentlemen.
I'd like to comment a little bit on that, because I think main root causes are also that we have a shift in technology where internet becomes vastly more available in hyperconnectivity. I have a 500 megabits up and downstream connection at home, so that's quite nice. But there are more people in this area that have those, and tools to breach and to download for script kiddies and to start running around and to learn about how to hack a site or to how to make some havoc on an exposed service is quite easy. So I think that we see a vast growth of people who are getting knowledgeable about offensive security, which is therefore free. You can learn it on YouTube. You can download a tool. Everybody can download Kali Linux or something else. Where educating and training on the defensive side, on the blue teaming side, is much harder. It takes a lot of effort. It's often somebody who works at a company who has several duties and then needs to free up time to get this additional skill set to help prevent on the attacks. And also, if you're a developer and you need to develop more secure, you need to weigh against developing secure against developing on time and what the business need is. And there lies the problem. So on one side, you see this fast growing, let's say, community of people who have access to free tools, high bandwidth, and easy accessible offensive skills, where the defensive skills are, harder to obtain and harder to maintain. But I'd like to challenge Sundar, and if he sees it in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Thank you. And see, if you look at it from an attacker's perspective, right? An attacker, would look at a low-hanging fruit. Right? A low-hanging fruit is a vulnerability, right? In many cases, right? If you look, if you just research the breaches that have actually happened, many of these low-hanging fruits or vulnerabilities, right, were, could actually have been addressed if they were, kind of patched on time. Right. One example, of course, as you can see, is the Equifax breach. Right. There was a struts vulnerability. It was because of a vulnerability in struts. They, Apache had actually announced it, but it was not patched, and they were able to exploit it. Right. And of course, right, you have targeted attacks, zero-day vulnerabilities as well. Right. Many of them. But if you go down into deeper causes, right. And it's, I just want to touch upon what Patrick said, right? On the one hand, organizations are more focused on product features. They want to get, products out fast, right? And that kind of conflicts with secure SDLC practice, right? You want security integrated, well integrated, right? You want security by design, as, Paresh, had actually mentioned. So it's actually, and so it actually goes into the culture, right, where you have, you're finding it hard to have secure by design as a construct, so that's one big challenge, that's a big challenge that organizations are facing, right? And to compound all that, right, you have big companies acquiring small companies, and and that brings with it its load of vulnerabilities. So you have all these issues as well, and also the fact in many organizations, security is not the primary driver. Many organizations, that were breached, you find that they were poorly staffed as far as security is concerned, right? That's as much focus they actually gave to security. So yeah, a number of causes. Very profound question. Thank you.
And would you agree that application and software security is a younger discipline, so to speak, or lagging behind network security, because network security is here for decades, and it seems that software and application security is maybe hot topic last 10 or maybe a little bit longer than 10 years. What do you think, Patrick?
I'll take this one to start off. No, I don't agree. I think it's a perception thing. If you talk to your business or to senior management, everybody knows what a firewall is, because they have seen that, they've heard that in the news. People spoke about firewalls, having firewalls, and things like that. And nobody talks about patching and putting software updates into place. But as long as I can remember vulnerabilities, software patching has been around as long as firewalls. So it's I don't agree. I think that both are as long around as they are. I think they're both as mature as they can get. There are enough tools there. There are enough products there. It's just the people who need to apply that and the knowledge about them. That's something different.
And thank you for that, because I wanted just to put that provocative question, because in past I have had a discussion with my colleagues. Another question is, I usually tell
if I
to
can
my
say,
students,
Dragan, can I?
yes, go on, sorry.
Yeah. So as Patrick says one perspective, I would say different perspective as well, because it's when you consider the people, processes, and technology. So the layer from the architecture onward is becoming more secure. For example, let's say the computer are connected, so it's becoming more secure. But then the upper layer, like systems software, becoming much more secure than the application secure. Then the layer becoming more vulnerable. So when we go to processes, then processes also slowly was developing. And then nowadays in cybersecurity, they say people is the weakest link. And that is true. It's a fact. So if we consider a layer approach, then we are also, let's say, consolidating slowly. And as Patrick says, the best practice is available. It's a matter of capacity. Over to you, Dragan.
And prioritization. Yes. Basically IT puts in a firewall and then the company is secure, and patching is just a hassle. That's a problem.
Indeed.
And Paresh, you mentioned people. So when I talking to my students in past, I think they are more interested in offensive side than defense. And I usually wanted to say them, maybe it's much easier to be offensive security because you can choose how you will attack, who you will attack, which method will use, and what time. So you have freedom to choose on all these four, or maybe even more. If you are on defensive side, you need to defend your organization all the time, all the places, all the method of attacks, and from all origins of that attacks. Would you say to young people who having this profession, what is easier, what is harder, or how to structure that? I think this is again matter of perspective, but just would like to put some discussion on this.
Yes.
Who would like to?
Yes, please. Can I? Okay, Sundar, would you like to say? Then I will add something there.
Yeah, you can add. You can start, Paresh, and I'll chip in. Yeah.
Absolutely, because nowadays, as Dragan you says, when young people want to having a career, their career is for their own progress. So everyone is working for earning. So now they say in cybersecurity, no more script kiddies. So previously only the kids were playing around and they were finding some vulnerabilities in application security. But nowadays it's becoming financial, and many times the criminal enterprises. So when it comes to enter into this kind of career or orientation, there is a money involved or career involved. So many times the offensive security becoming very, very lucrative kind of hanging fruits which they can catch it. So you see a lot of hackers around there. But when it comes to the defensive side, we have a less people. So currently we are building a European cybersecurity framework. I'm one of the experts over there. And this is what we are thinking. Can we take as an offensive kind of a look on this one and then consolidate the field? Because once we have, let's say, we say to the offensive people that if you go to defensive side, there is even more prospect. So then if the career prospect is opening, then I think we can consolidate this field more. Sundar and Patrick is more practical. They know the practice, they are building the team, they are dealing with the people, they will have a different.
The defensive side, you see, we cannot avoid, the defensive side at all, right? but I would like to stress on the importance of being offensive, right? In my view, right? See, because if you have to inculcate a security mindset, okay, to an aspiring, profession, right, who wants to get into security from wherever he is, he needs first to develop that hacker's mindset. Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at it, right, a good application security professional, right, thinks like a hacker, right, thinks, in fact, a great application security professional thinks like a hacker, an offensive person, right, offensive person, because he, see, he's the sort of guy, right, who very actively participates in, bug bounty programs, right, finding bugs, etc. Right. So, unless that's what, right, makes you think like a bad guy, right, makes you get into the shoes of a hacker, think like a bad guy, and see, what can go wrong, how a system can actually be, abused. I see this, as very critical. And in my view, right, this is one thing that I find, lacking in many AppSec professionals and need to be addressed. That's my point of view.
Yes.
Patrick, would you like to add something from your side?
Yes, I think Sundar and Paresh are totally right that the first step is on the offensive side, to learn and to think as a hacker and obtain those skills. But then there's much more to be learned when you go to the defensive side. So you start on the offensive side, and there are some great certifications out there, as Easy Counsel has them, for instance. But after that, if you look at the defensive side, offensive-wise, you only have to find one hole, and you can start poking around in that hole and see if you can get in. From the defensive side, you see 1,000 holes, and you need to plug all those holes on the application side and in the infrastructure side. So people getting into cybersecurity, start with offensive, but don't stay there too long. Don't be too long a red teamer. Come to the blue side. Come to the defensive side. We have also certifications, I would say, and I think there's way much more to learn if you make that transition in due time.
And then maybe eventually they end up in purple side, which is mixed of.
And in the end, they'll run in the purple side as long as they don't go black,
Yes. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Next question. In your opinion, what is the current state of software security overall, from perspective of processes, people, technology, as well as from attacker's perspective? Who will take this question first?
If my fellow practitioners, panelists, we are the expert on this.
Yeah. Okay. See, what happens is, from a developer standpoint, right? See, if you look at it, many organizations, right, from a developer's standpoint, security is something that is kind of outsourced to a central organization, yeah, a central, information security team. And many a time you actually find developers throw their hands up, right, when it comes to security, right? So we are seeing, we are hearing a lot of shift left, okay, and many organizations, of course, are implementing shift left. But in reality, right, in practice, it's not that easy to get there, right? So so what's happening is that many organizations are I would say struggling a bit there, in terms of in terms of shifting left, because when you reach that stage, the developers, right, should have the ability, right, to test their own code, right, from a security standpoint. They should be able to develop secure code, right, and that and in order to kind of achieve that, right, in order to achieve that, you obviously will have to have the security team working very closely, right, with the development team, right, and the processes also, right, for that matter, must be tightly aligned. So you need to have a culture, right, in place where you have these security team giving proper guidelines, right, at the design phase itself, right? You want to introduce security early on, right? So these guys are the ones who need to actively tell that, hey, this framework is secure, this needs to be used, these are secure libraries, right? These are the libraries that we recommend use, and developers use them, right? Develop their code, and then the security team can actually test that. That's where it should actually get, right? And then the next level, of course, is the business taking more responsibility, right? Which means the businesses actually owning security, or the respective business units, whatever you want to call that, right? Which means that I would say that security, right, needs to move towards decentralization from centralization. Yeah, that's when you have true shift left, right, where you have security champions within the business itself, right? Making sure that that whatever is being developed is actually secure. And if you look at from a process standpoint, right, you should have a culture where security is non-negotiable, right? Which means that there are very few exceptions, right? The exception should not be a norm. There should be very few exceptions, and any code that does not pass the security review should not get into production, right? That's where that's where organizations should get to. Some organizations, mature organizations, have gotten there or are close, but there are many, obviously, right, I would say, who are challenged.
And to add that, as you said, business owns security and owns actually the ultimate decision on risk. Who will touch item of, let's say, call that friction between business and security? Because business wants product as soon as on market and to get money from that. But security is usually considered as saying no because product is not ready for market. So where is the kind of trade-off or balance between these two of these? So maybe Patrick or Paris, who would like to take this?
I can take it, Patrick, because I think, as you mentioned, that there is a friction between the business people. They want to roll out their product very quickly. And on the other hand, for example, a software development team, and if we have a competent manager like Patrick or Sundar, then they want to make sure that everything should go through system by design. So then they are stubborn to actually going through this process. And if I'm in a board, or if I'm in a position of helping this team, I will stand by the security by design and delay the business. Because if we go through security by design, then we will have a more consolidated software. But let's say minimum viable secure product can be a good trade-off. Patrick, how do you see that?
Oh, so basically what I've learned to go about the problem with business or the friction, that I never say no. If you want to go live with your product, it's always allowed, and basically no problem. And these are the boundaries that you need to fix before you can go live. So it's never no, you can't go live. It's yes, you can go live, and these are the things that you need to fix. That can be technology things that you need to fix, because you still have a SQL injection in some of your forms, which shouldn't be there. But it could also be a risk acceptance, that you say, well, this functionality doesn't look really secure, but we're not sure. And you still want to move forward and accept that risk. What I always try to do is have a certain level of risk testing. It's not actually pen testing, but it's more baselining and vulnerability scanning and those kinds of things before go live. And after go live, not work with a yearly pen testing program. So sorry. I actually engage companies that do bug bounties, and I don't want to call too much names out, but there are several companies that you can engage that give you a option to own your own bug bounty program, and then basically run 24/7, 365 days a year bug bounty pen tests against your environment. And by a dynamic shift in and out of your applications into the bug bounty program, you get the pen test that you need normally once, but then throughout the whole year, which can help the business with a much more faster time to deploy. And normally, if you take a look at if you build a product, you do development, you do test, and then after test you have acceptance, and then somebody says, yeah, you need a pen test, and then you need to engage somebody, and you need a signature and a budget, and it takes you 4 to 6 weeks before deployment. And then you actually know that the company already has set the product live. If you do it the other way around, you say, well, if you want to start testing, you give them a special area in your environment where they can launch applications, and then have bug bounty, ethical hackers running around there to see if they can find problems, vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, and have them fixed before go live. And then put the whole product in a bug bounty again when you go live. You have a much more faster time for deployment. And from the security side, you even know better that you're secure because you're not relying on the knowledge on one time, one engagement within a certain time frame, but you have it running in a bug bounty program. So that's how I go around with the friction with the business, saying yes and offering a faster and easier deployment model when it comes to pen testing. But possibly Sundar has something to amend to that.
I would, like to repeat what I said earlier, right? Again, right, it's a question of a well-defined process, and it should be tightly integrated into SDLC. And, more so in today's, today's context, right, where you have DevOps, right? So, you should look to integrate, security testing in the DevOps pipeline itself. And that's so automation really is the key, and in kind of making sure that you have, you reduce this friction, right? So because on the one hand, you want products to come out fast, and on the other hand, you're seeing security more as a gatekeeper kind of a thing, right? So because in today's world, right, in many places it has reached a point where security is no longer a gatekeeper. Security actually enables bringing a new product right as soon as possible. That's the change. That's what an AppSec professional also has actually become. So that's right. So it's a well-defined processes, very important. And the other thing I would want to stress is, executive sponsorship is also very important, right? All this needs investment, yeah, which means that if you need to have a well-defined process, you need to have tools, you need to invest in tools that can integrate, well with this. So and executive sponsorship is very important. Without that, right, it's it's actually very difficult, to manage this friction.
Yeah, that's spot on, Sundar. Without management support, you will get nothing done. Definitely.
Yeah.
One more thing, if I can add, Dragan, do we have a time to add something here, or?
Yes, please go on.
Yeah, security can be also a good UPA. So, for example, if you consider currently popular application like WhatsApp or Signal, so because those applications are secure by design, so it's also a unique point for spreading your business. So that is also a new trend coming out. So when your product is more secure, people can more actually trusting. They trust there is a privacy has been. So I would say to the question Dragan were asking, what is the current state? The state is now consolidating. We are heading really on a positive and quite secure area.
Thank you very much. I think we can speed up a bit because of interest of time. We have a lot of questions. So next question would be, and actually we partially answered that question. What is the role of software development people and teams in security? And what is the role of information and cybersecurity teams or application security teams? And I mentioned here that question about friction. So maybe we can skip this and go to next question. And next question is, there is a lot of tools on the market. And there are so-called SAST, or static application security tools, and dynamic application security tools, or some people call them white box testing, black box testing, etc. Can you just give an opinion about how good these are tools, maybe what are good features and capabilities, and what is the room for improvement? Who would like to take this question? I think Sundar is better.
I would like to start off, right? So see, all these tools are great. The problem is that they bring also with them a lot of noise. Yeah. So whoever is doing the testing, right? Whether it's a security AppSec guy or a developer, right? He needs to deal with a lot of false positives that these tools throw up. For example, SaaS tools, they throw up a lot of false positives. So what this means is that, see, SaaS tools, obviously, right? Tools are very effective in catching low-hanging fruits, right? But the key really is to focus on those vulnerabilities that really matter, right? And that's where all this false positive elimination, right? That analysis, actually is very, very important. So it needs a good amount of skill to tune these AppSec tools, right, to an optimum level where you can, reduce, the false positives, right? And that's where, I would say that the human element comes in. And also, right, I would like to repeat, investment, right? Here again, right, you need executive sponsorship. You need, investment in the right people to actually do that. Yeah. So yes, these tools are great, but they do bring with them a lot of noise that you need to contend with. Today, we are also seeing, right, to the IAST as well as RASP. That's helping a lot, in getting your products out fast, right? Because these tools can be applied during runtime. And you also have an attacker's perspective, right? The way these tools actually operate. So yes, tools are great, but equally important is the human element that should never be ignored.
Anyone to add anything, Patrick? Or
I fully agree with Sundar there. Those tools are basically a must-have if you are in a development life cycle, but you need the human element on getting out the noise. So they could improve a lot. The only problem I have with these tools is that they give or might give a false sense of security. Those tools are not as smart as a human being. So when you did your development and you followed your guidelines, you did your SaaS testing and you did your dev testing, you still need a human to do the testing in the end, because humans are still smarter than computers and can make logic decisions, or even better, unlogical decisions, and connect things on applications that Dust and SaaS tools can't. I've seen it just last week, where we did full scanning of a simple website with a Dust tool, thought it was secure, put it in the bug bounty program, and within half an hour we had a configuration error and a configuration exposure there, which wasn't catched by the development team, nor it was catched by the tooling. So for me, in the end, you should definitely have SAST and Dust, but nothing in the end beats a proper pen test or an ethical hacker bug bounty program with the human element in there.
Thank you very much. And now maybe we can go to next set of questions. One of issues that I heard from different people on events like this, how to implement static application security testing in agile development environment, and what is the balance of security versus business needs to produce and release code quickly. I heard that some companies even release multiple times a day, and some companies release a couple of times a year, depending on regulations and many things. So what would be ideal implementation of SAST in Agile? Who would like to take this?
So, yeah, I could start off, right? See, one thing that I would suggest, and I mentioned this earlier, is that you have to look to integrate it in the DevOps pipeline, yeah, because if you're agile, then and the good thing about SaaS tools, right, relative to DAST, is that it is actually easier to integrate, yeah. So that's one thing that I would always advise. And the other, of course, right, we have SAST as well. We also have to look at SEA as well, right? The software composition analyzer as well, because because if you look at development these days, right, there are a lot of open source libraries. So you have to have SAST, in combination with SEA, right? And that's becoming more common nowadays.
Sundar, Paresh or Patrick, would you like to add something?
Yeah, basically Sundar has covered that. It's if you are using DevOps, then recently the security DevOps is also becoming very popular. Something if I will add more on the Patrick and Sundar's practices is a combination of three. So we have a AST, application security testing, and once we combine with the static and interactive and dynamic, it can be very effective while you want to roll out the minimum product. So how do you see, Patrick, about that?
Sorry, I missed the last part of the question a bit.
Yeah, so for example, combining three. So many times, when we are doing application security testing, the certain team is focusing on the dynamic one, so certain is focusing on the static one, but they are less leveraging the combination of all three. So while they combine, that's what even encourage in the security DevOps. So what do you on a practice level?
I think that's a difficult one, and I agree fully with Sundar that SAST implementation is quite easy. With every commit that you make, you can have a scan running. They make a commit at the end of the day, and in the morning they have an output of a report. And if there's not enough noise in there, Sundar, then they can move quickly. Dust testing, I think that comes when you had a full sprint in Agile. It will be very hard to do dust testing with a half product that isn't running. But I think there should be a handover from the team that handles the SAS testing to the dust testing team to say, well, we've seen these problems in the past. These were errors made, issues raised, and can you retest them in a dust environment or see if you can find something? Yes. Yeah, the last part, doing the full suite of testing with pen testers. I think there are two approaches there. One, you can give them all the dust and SAS reporting that you had, and then asking them to test and to focus on the test certain parts of the application for speed of deployment. But I would rather not give them any tests and apply a black box test there to have a third separate view on the security implemented. But maybe Sundar, you have a different view on that. Would you give your SAST and DAST reports for an external pen test?
Yeah, so no, yes, I would like to underscore the importance of pen test, right? Yes, SAST and DAST, um, you know, and in many cases, right, SAST in combination with DAST, right, can catch vulnerabilities. But then the good thing, about pen tests, or for that matter, right, you also at times have to have a manual code review, right? Because, the thing is that you'll have to catch the vulnerability in the context of the business logic, right? So business logic again becomes very important, right? While these things do catch low-hanging fruits, you definitely need, at times this, this manual code review, right? Or for that matter, even the pen test that you're saying, right, to catch those those vulnerabilities that are not easy to find, right, in the normal run of SAST or DAST tools, right? So I would say, you'll have to apply the right combination, yeah.
And I think we have a lot of questions. Questions are coming from audience as well. So I will try to speed up questions now and with shorter answers, please. So let's try next question, which is coming from our pool. If someone wants to choose software security career, what would you tell them? What would be single advice which you will tell them? Maybe Sundar can, because he's forming teams on this.
Yeah, absolutely. See, if someone wants to choose an app, an application or a software security career, right? First and foremost, right, he needs to have a broad understanding of how things work, right? So it's not just the application alone, right? It's also the underlying infrastructure, the underlying network. He needs to have a broad understanding, right, of the environment, I would say, right? That's one thing that he essentially needs to have. The other thing is, right, he obviously needs to inculcate a security mindset. That security mindset, the hacker mindset, which I was talking about, right? So in whatever he's doing, let's say he's developing, right, he should ask this fundamental question, right? He should get into the habit of asking this fundamental question as to what can go wrong, what's the worst that can happen, and how can my system actually be abused, right? So these three fundamental questions, right, should be fully ingrained, in this, with a person, right, actually aspiring to be an AppSec professional. And the other important thing is, right, obviously, right, let's say if he's a software developer, he can move, to that of towards AppSec by actually understanding, right, the various security standards that are in play. For example, OWASP.10 or SANS. There are a number of standards that he could actually go through or get himself familiarized with. That's one thing that he could do. Certifications is also a very important tool, because, and I would say that's very important because there are so many concepts, right, that fall in place, right? He would have probably come across, right, at different points in his career, but it's just that he would not have paid enough attention. But if you go through the certification process or the study process in certification, right, so many things actually will fall in place. There are many certifications, right? I don't name a few, right? CISSP is one. You have ISACA certifications. There are many certifications, or EC Council certifications. So any of these certifications, right, is something that he could actually pick up. So, and of course, right, he needs to understand a little bit in deep fundamental security principles. He should be strong, right, in fundamental, security concepts. And I see that, right. Why I'm saying is that, I have the experience of speaking to many AppSec professionals, right? I see, many of them kind of falter there. So it's all this that he needs to focus on in order to make his career in applications.
Okay, Thank you, Sundar. And Patrick and Paresh, do you have anything to add? Maybe one sentence or one thing.
Well, what I would like to add is delete your Netflix account, delete your Disney Plus account or your Amazon Prime account. Start learning now, and you stop learning when you retire.
Good advice. Paresh?
Yes, absolutely. So mine is more practical certification. So I would recommend any youngster, and we are training around 500 youngsters every year. So once they have as Sundar says, the security mindset, and as Patrick says, focusing on what they want to becoming in career, then having a certification add tremendous value. And we have seen plenty of graduates. So they finish their cybersecurity education, but once they have a certification, for example, practical certification from PC Council, they are gaining their career.
Thank you very much. Now going to next similar question. If we, let's say, have software engineer which is very good and want to move his career to cybersecurity, if you can just, in interest of time, very shortly answer what you would tell and what is the best match of these two.
I can take it, gentlemen. Please go ahead. Patrick, go ahead.
Okay, so I think we've touched upon this topic earlier. You have your development skills, look at the offensive side, and then move into the defensive side. It's quite easy, and there's enough to learn for free, as well on very good certifications, as Sundar and Paresh all pointed out. Start offensive, move to defensive.
Very short and concrete. Thank you, Patrick. And anything to add from Paresh? Absolutely,
because this is if you are moving from the software engineer towards the cybersecurity, you are well positioned. Right? So your position is very strong. So, for example, I started as application security developer in 2000, and then now I moved to cybersecurity because I know what are the processes of developing software, what is the hacking mindset, and then it's easy to move on. So I would say you are on a right position.
And Sundar, anything to add?
Yeah, and something that I already added earlier, right? See, because if you're a software developer, right, and for whatever reason, right, you've not paid attention to security. So one thing, of course, is you should inculcate that security mindset and see how you develop your software security, which means you should start focusing right in getting familiar with the OWASP standards that are there, the recommendations that are there, as well as the secure software libraries, whichever language you're developing, right? You should kind of pay attention to the secure libraries that that language actually throws up, right? So these are things that a developer should do, right, in order to increase or sustain the increase in interest, and then move gradually into software security.
Good. And we have next question, which I think we mostly covered in earlier talks. So career move from the network to application security, but I believe that maybe if you just have to add something specific for this, feel free to. Maybe Patrick can start again.
Well, I think this is a hard one. If you look from a background of network security, people are used to using tools like Nessus, OpenVAS, an expose, things like that. They're used to patching, they're used to firewall rule sets, installing something like an antivirus, things like that. Application security is really something different. So the most important topics to know is to start to learn to program, not a language, but the logic behind programming, and then apply concepts that Sundar already mentioned, like the SANS, like the OWASP Top 10, get familiar with those, and then see if you can make the switch. But making that switch, I have not seen it happen a lot. If you can, you're in a even better position than starting from development, moving to cybersecurity, I think. But it's really hard, because becoming a programmer with a technical network background, if that's 5 or 10 years, that's really hard. That's tough.
And
okay, let's go. Yes, go on.
I agree with that, right? It's not that easy, because, but it can be done. See, the thing is that you should look to understand the entire technology stack. Pick up, a programming language or two, right? And get into the habit of reverse engineering. Yeah, because if you have that mindset, then it becomes a lot more easier for you to actually switch. So I'm there to encourage. Yeah? So I would say it's possible, but you need to actually do these things, right, and inculcate that mindset, security mindset.
Yes,
Good.
and if I can quickly add one thing, sorry, Dragan, if I can add quickly, because network security as well as application security have one common process. It's called penetration testing, as both of them have mentioned. So if someone knows this skill, it can be usable in both areas. Sorry, Dragan, over to you now, please.
Thank you very much. Good. And now go to next question, which is actually covered in previous questions, so we maybe can safely skip this one, and then go to another group. When someone comes to a new company, and let's say that new company doesn't have security practice, application security practice, or software security practice developed, what would be your advice to them? How to start, how to develop that from scratch? I was in this in my career, so I would like to check. What do you think about this? So, Patrick.
For me, this is a simple answer. From the OWASP, there is a project called the OWASP Security Maturity Model. There's an assessment model, the OSIM, where you can just do a gap analysis on where you are and where you want to be. And if somebody comes new to the company and you want to work in application security, you want to do something and there's nothing there, start with that assessment from the OWASP.
And I would say, he would have a good amount of work to do, because once he has done that, identify the gaps, you should also put on a business hat, right? And come out and basically see, right, how we can actually build a business case. It needs executive sponsorship. So how does he go and and convince his leadership, the need for application security, the need to address the gaps, and what does it actually cost, to get there. Right? So he should instill that that fear in the minds of the executive leadership, and make it happen. Right? So that's so he's got to be a go-getter.
And I think we have a couple of questions coming in that way, so let's go to them.
Yeah.
So, how do you perceive future development in area of application software security? What will happen? What will be improved? What do you expect to happen in future?
Can I take it, Dragan?
Yes, Paris, go on.
So I think when we think about the technology field itself, it's becoming more AI-centric. The process is becoming more optimized. And as application security, your work, as Sundar and Patrick says, is more leadership. So you work as making sure that everything is working well. So I would say more automation and AI-based software and application security. It's a new trend nowadays. We have a couple of EU projects, innovation project, and then it's very promising.
Good. Sundar, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just to add to what Paresh said, right? See, it's time to market, right? What's impeding time to market? Obviously, the noise that the tools generate, right? That's a major factor. And AI, has a very important role to play in reducing that noise. At this point, I'm not sure, how mature it is, right? In my view, I would say it has not yet reached that maturity level, but definitely, right, in future you would see it mature to an extent that AI will play a major role. And the other, obviously, right, when it comes to the adoption, I would say I would think that the IAST and RASP tools will see more adoption. You'll not only see them mature, but I guess there'll actually be more adoption in combination with the SAST and DAST tools that are already existing.
Patrick, anything to add to this?
For me, the future of development in application software security, I think it will be more rely on the underlying tools than on the developers themselves. I envision something like Siri built me an application, or Alexa built me an application, AI-driven, machine learning-driven, maybe with pencils on a tablet that you draw something and it gets translated into code. But that means that development will be more user experience based than hardcore development skills. And with that comes a stronger reliance on the underlying framework, that everything they translate from a thought into a line of code needs to be secure. So 10 years from now, I think we'll be coding like that, and then we'll have a stronger problem with the frameworks that are used below that, because they're not so easy to grasp, and even the vulnerabilities or the problems they introduce with that. So that's how I see it.
Good, thank you very much. And now going to next question. Let's say, management likes dashboards, pie charts, and similar things. So what type of metrics, KPIs, key performance indicators, you use, and how do you know you are successful in your practice? Who will take this one?
Okay, I can start.
Yes.
One thing that I would say is, the proof is in the pudding. Yeah. So it's one thing to catch vulnerabilities, but then it's another thing actually to fix them. Yeah. So of course, right, one important metric is the number of vulnerabilities fixed, right? That's more important to me than the number of you can say the vulnerabilities that you catch. And the other thing is the duration, right? Because time to market is very, very important here, right? So what's the average time it takes to fix a vulnerability, right? These are two metrics I see very important, besides many others, right? I would leave the floor open to.
I'm getting kind of notified by organizers that we are running behind time. So maybe if we can just speed up, we can have a couple more questions, which are very important. So just giving chance to Patrick and Paresh to just very shortly add if you have some. Patrick.
So I would measure that how many times I would be with the CFO to explain that we had another data breach. So my metrics go around trips, senior management to explain data breaches. I would incorporate that. Interesting, good.
Paresh?
No, I would say we should go through the key areas of security by design and the penetration testing. Even though if we cover that one, we will actually consolidate almost 80% of our application. And our research data also confirms that with various different small applications.
Good, thank you. And let's see next question. What should be budget for software security in technology company? How you would explain that to C-level? What percentage of annual gross revenue you will dedicate to this purpose? So maybe we can start with Paresh now. Absolutely. Do you have any numbers at hand?
Yes, I do. I do have a number written here. So Gartner has recently published a report. So according to them, they say the large-scale organization, when we consider the big tech giant, they are allocating almost 80% of their budget in the application security. That is a revealing number. And when it began from the Sony incident. As you know, in our cybersecurity, the Sony incident is very, very prominent incident. So when that happened, is actually completely demolished the company's reputation. So the C-level management and board, I'm also sitting in many boards, so I know that it considered as a very, very important aspect. So the reputation of the company, established company, is very important, and that's the Gartner data says. So when your company is well established, well reputed, then they allocate almost 20%. 18% is the factual data, but almost 20% of budget is allocated there.
Great. You have excellent numbers, which is very important. And Patrick, do you have any numbers to support this?
No, because that's for me, it's quite hard to give an estimate. It's depending on what your company is doing, how big the company is, where the focus lies, and things like that. Create a business case and explain it to C-level management. Yes, I totally agree with Paresh. It all goes into company reputation. That almost 100% where you find the link to C-level management and the board to spend. The only thing what I can say is you should not work with fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Don't bring fear into their hearts, but speak to what's important, what's culturally important to the company, if that's their reputation or their ethics or their compliance or something with possibly their shareholders, something like that, and try to engage them on that level, and then they're willing to spend basically the money that you need if it's a reasonable figure.
Yes.
Good, thank you. And I think we can go to next question. So COVID-19 pandemic, very important. How do you see post-COVID world in terms of application security? Will that increase spend on application security, or will that change anything? Maybe Sundar, because he didn't have a chance to answer previous question.
See, the COVID-19 pandemic, right, obviously has given a lot of room for attackers, right? So, I only see an increasing trend, with, and we would have seen in the news as well, right? The number of phishing attacks has actually, increased manifold, once the pandemic has actually set in. So, the pandemic, right? So if you ask me, the pandemic or the arrival of this pandemic is only necessitating to bolster your your defense even more. There's no escaping that. So if you ask me, what this directly means is that the importance, because application, right, is a very important attack surface. If you ask me the two top attacking surface, I would say one is the application, right, vulnerability itself, and the other one is, of course, the identity. These are the two attack surfaces, and and post pandemic, you definitely see more room for the hackers to actually get through. And I would say that's really the impact, right? It means that you'll have to bolster your security and more so application security.
Patrick, anything to add to this?
No, basically not. I fully agree. And the only thing what I see is, as we will be staying at home longer and more people will be working from home, and it's hard to get a grasp on the bring your own devices and the machines they will be using. I see as Sundar did, a bigger shift towards application security, because you need to start to be more secure towards the data where you're protecting it, and relying less on the infrastructure below.
Paresh, do you have anything quickly to add?
Yes, very quickly I can add. As both the gentlemen says, the pandemic has increased the use of application. So more we have a more consumption of application. For example, we have a data from Sweden and Finland. So 25% more consumption of technology and application. So in my view, this pandemic has actually helped application security field to mature, not only mature, but establish long time. So I see next 20 years as a very consolidated field in application security.
Thank you very much. And just to say, we are seeing in news here that India is suffering heavily these days from the COVID-19. So just to say that we support you, and with our thoughts are with you and our prayers with you guys. So going to next set of questions, we are going pretty much to the end, toward the end of set of questions. So what is next big thing in application and software security? We touched this a bit, but just if you guys can briefly mention some of your predictions. Who will take this one?
Yeah, if I may quickly add, yes, please. Sorry about, if I may add, for example, we discuss about AI, and both our practitioners, C-level expert, they confirm that. On addition, I would consider blockchain is emerging. So even though let's say that people are a bit hesitant to adopt, but there is a, let's say, an innovation phase, and it's now in adoption phase, and there is a proof of concept and the contract base. So both will actually increase. So I will consider these two big trends: blockchain applications as well as AI.
Sundar?
Yeah, absolutely right. AI, of course, I agree with Paresh. You'll have more automation, obviously. When it comes to application security, integration with the DevOps, we're doing more and more of that. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, right, there will be, you can say, more adoption of IAST as well as RASP tools, right? Given the way software development is going, right?
So guys, you mentioned AI and machine learning. So kind of you tempted me to put another question, and let me read that. Let's say a new software security tool comes to the market, and imagine its solution that is able to triage issues. You mentioned false positives as very important, and noise as very important issue, and to flag false positives and trash them out, and also to give to developers remediation advice, which is based on context. You mentioned context before, which is very important, and then to correct or fix that real vulnerabilities, or even more, to do that automatically in background, without or with just a bit bothering of your software development teams. And that's machine learning based and AI based solution. So you can go to this website, glog.ai, glog.ai, and see one team is working on that. So I wanting to use this opportunity because all of you mentioned some of these things. So what would you think about this type of solution? Would that help developers and security teams? And is that future, maybe? Maybe to ask that, Patrick.
Well, possibly it might help, but it's a new tool. So I always need to first look where it's coming from, who developed it, and is the tool itself secure? Yeah, I think we touched upon this. It's great. It's an AI solution. It's machine learning. It gives us the low-hanging fruit, as Sundar already pointed out. And I think, as Paresh said, we still need to take out these false positives. It's always good to have something like this in your environment, but you can't omit the personal, the people test in the end.
Yes, artificial intelligence is probably a long way to go, but this can be helpful, in my opinion. And
yes.
Paresh, what do you think about this?
I would consider it's a prime mover move. So if a software company owner like this, they will have a bright future, because as Patrick says, the human is very important in the application security. So in my view, the human will play as an intellectual a leader within that. So even a small application software security person will be very, very key in a future IT companies. And this kind of tool will be actually his weapons. So this kind of tool is going to be very, very important.
Thank you. And for Sundar, same question.
Yeah. So I do agree, right? So this type of tool will actually gain prominence in future. It eliminating a lot of noise. The biggest use that I see, right, or the biggest benefit that this type of tool can bring is it'll allow security professionals, right, to focus more on emerging threats than get bogged down by day-to-day issues. That's really the biggest benefit that I see, right, with this tool actually maturing.
Good. I have to say that I tried to pick up and formulate some of questions coming from audience during this talk, and to kind of overlap them with questions we have here on already. And there are a lot of questions. Mostly of them are around the area how to integrate your security in software development lifecycle, which tools to use, how to set up processes, how to set up training, how to get people ready for this from both sides, from security side as well as from the software development and from business side. And also there are questions about, which we mentioned partially, about which security certifications are very important for this area. So we weren't able to answer many of questions, and I apologize for, in name of organization and my personal name, to attendance. Just to say, if you have any particular questions, you can reach out to me. I will try with my team to answer as many questions as we can and we know. I hope that other panelists are also open to speak to attendance of this webinar, and to tell them and to help them actually to set up application security practice, to choose tools and set up procedures, and also to create good relationship with business side of security and risk management and other parts of security teams, and also business teams and software development teams. So I hope that this webinar and panel was useful for people who attended, and we are open to get questions offline if you have some. So thank you very much, Patrick and Paresh and Sundar, for this great discussion. I really enjoyed that and hope to have more in future.
Absolutely. Looking forward.
Anything to add before we wrap up this session?
Indeed, Dragan. First of all, we all panelists is very grateful for your orchestration and holding this panel discussion. And we also be thankful to EC Council, because EC Council have very practical solution like certification, and mainly our audience, because they might benefit. They can connect with us on a LinkedIn or a Twitter, and let's build your career here.
Thank you.
Sundar, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It was really a pleasure to be part of this panel and to actually talk to all of you. I thank EC Council for actually organizing this. All I can say is, amidst these trying circumstances, stay safe.
Yes.
Thank you, Sundar. Thank you, Paresh, for the insights. Being part of the panel, I still want to say I learned a lot. So thank you for your insights. Dragan, thank you for very nice hosting this panel session, and obviously EC Council for giving us the possibility to voice our opinions to hopefully a new breed of application security specialists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good rest of the day. Good night, whatever.
Thank you so much, guys. I want to again thank all of our panelists, especially Dragan, for being part of such an informative session. I think we had the maximum attendant ratio, so that means that no one left the session midway. They all were really interested to hear you out. And just for our attendees, we would like to inform them that this webinar is in sync with an AC Council product case, which is a certified application security engineer, which has an if you complete that, you have over 10,000, 100,000 job vacancies in US alone, and with an average salary of around 98,000 US dollars per annum. So if you want to do check it out, do let us know your opinion. If you would like us to get in touch with you, do put a part in the poll. And for all our panelists, thank you so much again, Paresh, Sundar, and Patrick. It was such a great learning from you guys. And Dragan, you are a gem and you have such a vast knowledge to share. Thank you so much. Have a good day, guys.